feeling overwhelmed, burned out, or secretly stuck in your own head. You're not alone, and you're not the first. Read on, and you'll see why a Roman emperor's private diary might just understand your 3 a.m. thoughts better than any self-help book, therapist, or productivity guru ever could. Drop a comment, share your favorite Marcus quote, or start your own journal today, because your mental battles are ancient, and they can be conquered. Let's be honest. If Marcus Aurelius had an iPhone, meditations would live in his Notes app. No filters, no likes, just raw, uncut cognition from a man juggling war, plague, political backstabbing, and the guilt of being exhausted while still privileged. His private journal reads less like lofty philosophy and more like a psychological survival manual. He wasn't writing to impress future readers. He was writing to convince himself to keep going. This wasn't a motivational poster. This was mental first aid. Take this enduring line. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You've seen this paraphrased on Instagram, tattooed on forearms, and quoted in therapy rooms. But context is everything. Marcus was likely writing this while enduring sleepless nights in a freezing tent on the Danube frontier, with the Antonine Plague ravaging Rome and his generals pressuring him for decisions that could cost thousands of lives. He wasn't sitting by a candle, meditating on serenity. He was at war, with enemies outside and within. In another entry, he writes, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's basically saying, it's not what happens to you, it's how you interpret it. Your reaction is the thing. This insight, though written in the 2nd century, sounds like it could come straight from a session with a modern-day cognitive behavioral therapist. We live in an era defined by its mental burdens. Burnout is now a buzzword and a diagnosis. The World Health Organization calls it an occupational phenomenon. Yet here was Marcus, 2,000 years ago, writing about the exhaustion of having too many masters, including one's own racing thoughts. Loneliness too plagues our digital age. We're more connected than ever, yet never more isolated. Marcus felt it too. He wrote of the disease of crowds, the paradox of being surrounded by people and feeling utterly alone. His reflections on isolation aren't just relatable, they're prophetic. And what about decision fatigue? From choosing which news to trust to what to eat for lunch, our modern brains are overwhelmed. Marcus warned against being torn apart by many thoughts, urging himself instead to simplify, to return to what is essential. Concentrate every minute, he wrote, like a Roman. That's not just productivity advice. That's a meditation on clarity and chaos. The truth is, meditations isn't ancient wisdom, it's ancient therapy, a timeless attempt to wrestle chaos into clarity, stoic tools for the 21st century mind. If Marcus Aurelius were alive today, he wouldn't sell a course. He wouldn't post productivity hacks on Instagram. He'd hand you a scroll, worn, rewritten, probably tear-stained, and say, "Write your mind straight." He didn't preach, he practiced. His life was a masterclass in what the Stoics called ascesis, daily training of the soul. He wrote not for an audience, but for alignment. That's what your Notes app can be too, a personal temple for returning to clarity. So how do we apply his methods now? Here are actionable, Stoic exercises that translate seamlessly into your modern life. 1. Premeditatio malorum, premeditate the worst. Try this. Each morning, take 5 minutes to mentally rehearse what could go wrong. Traffic, criticism, delays, disappointment. Why it works. Psychologists call this stress inoculation. It prepares your nervous system. When things go sideways, your brain doesn't panic, it recognizes the terrain. Marcus did this not to be negative, but to be ready. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest. He expected difficulty, so he wasn't destabilized by it. 2. Dichotomy of control. Try this. Write 2 columns. What I can control versus what I can't. Why it works. This exercise is the backbone of both Stoicism and CBT. Most of our anxiety lives in the right-hand column. When we accept what's beyond us, we get our power back. You have power over your mind, not outside events. 3. Voluntary discomfort. Try this. Fast for a few hours. Take a cold shower. Leave your phone behind for a walk. Why it works. Comfort breeds fragility. Stoics practice discomfort to remember that happiness isn't about luxury, it's about resilience. Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare. Seneca. 4. Memento mori. Remember you will die. Try this. Reflect for 60 seconds. If today were my last, how would I behave? Why it works. Death is the ultimate clarity tool. It strips away triviality. It forces you to prioritize virtue over vanity. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. 5. Journal like an emperor. Try this. Before bed, ask 3 questions. Where did I act with virtue? Where did I fail? How can I improve tomorrow? Why it works. Self-reflection builds self-command. Marcus didn't journal for likes. He did it to realign his compass every night. Don't waste what's left of your life speculating about others. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. 7. Present tense thinking. Try this. Every hour, pause. Ask, am I focused on now? Why it works. Most suffering is past or future-based. The Stoic cure is presence, simplicity, now. Confine yourself to the present. Marcus would have no patience for toxic positivity or hustle porn. He buried children, buried friends, governed through war, and he still found time to be grateful, humble, and fair. He would look at your life, not to judge, but to challenge. You weep over delayed Amazon deliveries, while I buried children and waged wars, yet I wrote about gratitude. The good news, you don't need to be a Roman emperor to live like one. You just need a moment each day to remember your mind is your kingdom. Govern it well. And next time you reach for your notes app in a moment of confusion or pain, remember, you're continuing a 2,000-year-old tradition. Marcus is nodding. Write it down. Think it through. Then return to the task. That's the Stoic way. So, what does all of this amount to? The irony is staggering. In an age of infinite access to knowledge, comfort, and communication, we are still grappling with the same invisible enemies Marcus faced. Fear, doubt, meaninglessness, ego, mortality. We dress them differently now. We give them new hashtags, but at their core, our inner wars remain painfully familiar. Marcus Aurelius did not imagine himself a genius. He never thought his notebook would become one of the most influential works of philosophy. He wasn't preaching. He was bleeding, thinking aloud, trying with every sentence to keep his mind from unraveling. And here we are, centuries later, scrolling through feeds, refreshing notifications, drowning in articles about productivity while secretly craving stillness, clarity, and peace. We are ruled not by emperors, but by algorithms, and yet, the need to govern ourselves, our thoughts, our reactions, our fears, has never been more urgent. Marcus wrote in a tent between battles. You write in your notes app between meetings. The form changed, the function hasn't. The power of meditations is not just in its ideas, it's in its raw humanity, in its vulnerability, in its willingness to look in the mirror, not for affirmation, but for alignment. Let's be honest, Life today feels like a battlefield too, except the enemies are subtle. Burnout, comparison, anxiety, restlessness, the quiet fear that we're not enough. We feel pulled in 1,000 directions and numbed by 10,000 distractions. What Marcus offers is not a cure, but a compass. He reminds us to pause before reacting, to interrogate our thoughts, to embrace discomfort, to measure success, not by applause or outcome, but by virtue, and above all, to remember that death waits for us all, and therefore, life is too short to live unexamined. Imagine what would happen if more of us took 5 minutes each day to reflect like Marcus did. Imagine a workplace where people led like Stoics, not with bravado, but with balance. Imagine a culture that valued restraint over noise, wisdom over clout, presence over performance. You don't need a toga to live like a Stoic. You don't need to renounce the modern world. You just need to show up to your life with discipline, to say, I will focus on what I control. I will not be mastered by things I cannot change. I will act justly, think clearly, and move forward, even when I'm tired. This isn't about being perfect. Marcus certainly wasn't. It's about being principled, so when the noise gets loud, when your mind spirals, when the weight of life starts to crush your chest, reach for your inner Marcus. Not to feel superior, but to feel steady. Because the truth is, we are all emperors now, ruling tiny kingdoms of thought, energy, and time. And like Marcus, we are all secretly struggling to lead ourselves. But also, like Marcus, we have the power to choose a better way. Start with a line, one honest sentence, one clear thought, one courageous act. That's how he did it. And now it's your turn to do it.